Now let's see if we can focus on the look and feel of the body for my character. If I zoom in, remember you only have to have one movable portion of your body. At least one of the arms and hands needs to move. So I've designed mine where this arm doesn't move, but when I set up the body, I still want those arms to look like they're a part of that particular design. So when I draw this out, that's going to be kind of part of the challenge for what I'm creating. Now in creating this, just like we did with the head, go back to scene 1, this needs to have its own layer by itself, so I'll make a new layer. And of course this one's going to be underneath my head layer. So I'm going to call this my body layer. With that body done, I'm going to lock down other parts. Oops, not that one. Yeah, there we go. To make sure I'm working just on the body layer. We'll start off, I'm going to do my neck first, and just as I did with my head, we'll turn it into a symbol, and then we'll jump in and start adding parts to that symbol. So with the neck selected, now one thing I do want to point out is you always want to have your neck slightly longer than you think you need it, simply because the neck or your head can be moving about in a lot of different ways, and so you want to be able to have it look like it's naturally still fitting on the shoulders and on the neck itself. Make this a little bit wider, maybe a little bit taller, and I think that'll be good to go for that. So we'll select it, turn it into a symbol. Again, I'm going to call this symbol the body. We'll say OK. And now we're working in the body isolation mode when I double click on it, and I can add on different parts to it. Now since this is the neck, it needs to have its own individual layer. So I'm going to go up to layer 1, we'll call this the neck layer, lock it down, and create a new layer on top of it. I'm going to let this be my shirt or even collar layer. Let's do it as a collar. Grab my pen tool. Cool, I like the way that turned out, especially the little point at the end. And I need to save up that particular color of blue as a swatch. So with it selected, let's see, get my color picker. There's that. Now we can add it to the swatches so I can use it again. We'll select this and let's hold down Option as I drag. 2-finger click. I'll flip it horizontally and place it on the other side of my shirt. Give it a little gap from there. All right, with the collar done, let's drag it into place, see what it looks like on the neck. I think that'll work out pretty good. We can lock down this layer, go up to here, and let's create the shirt style layer. Now of course I want my shirt underneath my collar, so I'll place that there as I click and drag off the rest of this. Same I did with the other one. I'll grab my pen tool. Now when I draw off my shirt, I'm intentionally going to leave the sleeves off of it because I want to be able to design my arms to match that. So I'm not going to do any part of the arm, I just want to connect the design of the shirt and let it kind of flow down to the pants here. Now if you know me, you know I like to have a good plaid texture to my shirt. So let's add that texture into it. I went online and I found a picture of a plaid design that I like. So I can go up to File. Let's go to Import to Library. And this is the plaid texture that I took a screenshot of. When I say Open, it'll place it into our library panel. Now to apply it to the blue, I'm going to click just once on the blue area to get it selected. Then we can go up to our color panel, and inside the color panel, this is where we can swap it over from being a solid color to a bitmapped fill color. This has the two pictures that we filled in, and so this second one here is the plaid texture selected. That looks really good. If I wanted to scale down this texture, this is where we can go to look underneath our free transform to find the gradient transform tool. I may need to zoom out, but now I can see the outer bounding box that lets me scale this down to whatever size that I want my pattern to be. And that looks really good fitting inside of that. I wonder what happens if I go even smaller. Yeah, it keeps on going. I think that's actually a good size for what it is. All right, the final thing I need to do is to add the blue back into this design. Now, in order to do this, we can't just select it and have another color filled in on top of it. So I'm going to select just the shirt, and be careful not to select the outline because I want to keep that separate. But with the fill color selected, let's turn that into a symbol. We're going to call this the shirt symbol. Now you can see it's placed on here. It may actually bring it to the front of everything that you have. So in case your line gets a little bit thinner, you can go to Arrange, and let's send it to the back. Now we'll put it behind everything that's there. Finally, with it selected, you can go up to your Properties panel and look for the color effects. And what we want to do is to add a tint on top of it. This will allow us to pick whatever color that we have. And so if I selected this, let's choose our shirt color of blue. And now you can see that blue shirt color has been added to that overall design. If you want, in my case, I'm going to leave the collar slightly separate just so that it kind of has a different little look and feel to it. I kind of like the look of that particular setting for it to work on. All right, now let's focus on doing the arms and the rest of the body. Actually, before I do the arms, let's do the pants next. So we'll go back up to here, make us a new layer. In this case, it'll be our pants layer. Lock down the other part of the shirt. Now let's tackle those arms. We'll go up to our timeline and lock down the pants, create a new layer. This will be the arm design. And remember, whatever I do for one arm on this side also needs to be usable for the other side as well. So the design of it kind of needs to match up and needs to be flexible enough so that this one can stay stationary and this one can be moved around. So to do this, let's break this up into different segments. I'm going to do the upper limb first. To start off, I'm going to grab my rectangle tool. I'm going to round off the corners of it, so when I click and drag, I get something that looks like this. Now for now, I'm just kind of eyeballing the size need of it. Actually, if I was to rotate this into place, let's kind of get it to line up. It needs to be able to go from the elbow and then up into this upper portion here. I think that actually looks pretty good. Of course, I need to change the skin tone for this from being a blue back to the skin tone that's there. And I want my arm sleeve to look like it's rolled up and then matching up this upper part of this elbow here as well. So with that done, grab my drawing tool. That may be a bit too much. Let's start over. Great, that's looking pretty good. Of course, with this, we can get rid of everything that's in between. Now, as far as where the sleeve attaches to the shirt, this is also where I need to start making a couple of design decisions on how I want this to overlap. I think this would work best if my arm was actually underneath the body itself, and so, or the shirt part of the body. So as it moves, I can get rid of this area of the line and still have the shirt design show up. So with that done, let's continue drawing off the rest of the sleeve. Again, we'll get it to match. But in this case, I'm going to let the sleeve go all the way down, back down to here. Now I can erase away everything that's underneath it and fill this in with the same color of blue that we want for this one. Grab my fill bucket tool, turn on my t-shirt color. So to test this out, I'm going to put the arm underneath the shirt layer up in my timeline. We'll select everything and kind of move it up and into place. That actually looks like it's going to fit really, really well. Now along with this is where we also want to tweak it so that the arm looks like it actually fits within that area. Now if it's going to connect up with the shoulder, maybe I need to go into my arms design and let's round over this particular bit. So I'll click and drag that up. So now it kind of matches the curve. I don't necessarily need this line, so I can get rid of it. But most importantly, I need to go into my shirt design for this part and get rid of where it's going to connect in with that. So let me bring my arm in one more time, get it to line up. Oops, make sure it's underneath the shirt. There we go, that's looking really good right there. I'm going to lock down my arm layer, got my shirt layer selected now. Double click into this and let's get rid of just this upper portion of this line. So I've got that line isolated. Grab our eraser tool. I'm going to erase away, give it a little bit of an overlap, that part right there. Now, I double click, you can see how it goes in. Let's go back to our arms design. Oh, didn't mean to rotate that. There we go, don't want to see that part. Now we can go back into our arm layer itself. I'll unlock it and continue designing out the rest of the arm that I have. And looking at this, I don't necessarily want an outline around the skin portion. We'll just keep it on that. But I do want to fill in the outline around the rest of my sleeve. Just like we did with the shirt. So I'm going to select the sleeve portions. I'm going to convert that to a symbol. In this case, I'm going to call it the upper sleeve graphic. Now that it's a graphic, we're going to go to our color panel, swap it over to a bitmap. We'll fill it in with that particular color. Excuse me, should have double clicked on it to make that change. Now let's fill it in with a solid color bitmap. And we'll scale it down to match the design of everything else that we have. Of course, it'll be off by just a little bit. That's kind of part of the appeal and charm of this particular animation. I like the look of that. So I've got my arm, got the upper portion to it. Let's do that properties where we go to our color, and let's do a tint overlay, and still got the same color selected. Of course, this needs to either be sent to the back, or what I did for the shirt was select just the outline, and I'll let the outline be its own individual object. So I've selected just the outline for it. We'll convert that to a symbol. There it is, convert to symbol. I'm going to call this the sleeve outline. And now I can bring that to the front by going to modify, arrange. Let's bring it up to its own individual layer. Had the wrong thing selected. Let's go back. And let's redo it. Select everything, hold down Shift and deselect that part. I'm even going to deselect my little hand. Now I should only have the outline of everything selected. If I move it, there it is right there. That's the good stuff. Let's convert that to a symbol. Modify, convert to symbol. This will be the sleeve outline. Now we got it set on top of there, and it should work well for everything else that we have for this. Now the last thing I'm going to do is select all of this upper arm because I want to be able to use this on the movable arm. And I'm going to save this as the upper arm design. So convert that whole thing to a symbol. We'll call it the upper arm. Now I can take this entire symbol and also flip it over and use it on the other side for my graphic. But we're going to do that outside of the t-shirt design. Let's do the lower arm now. This lower arm can start off as a rounded rectangle, just like we did before. Of course, with this selected, we want our fill color to be the skin tone, and we don't need to have an outline around it. So let's just delete away that outline. With it selected, we can use our transform tool. See if we can bring this down and in just a bit. Just like we did with the upper arm and this lower portion, we also want this to be nice and rounded, so whatever we put onto it, it can be moved around. Of course, I do want these joints to line up well and to mesh well with everything else that we've done. So if I was to place that there, it could be that one. We'll nudge it over, scooch it up. I think that'll work well for what we're done. I'm going to move this out of the way. And just like I did with the upper one, we're going to create this to a symbol. This will be the lower arm. Save that. Now that that's a graphic, we can place it into our design. And I'm going to send it to the back. Command and down. And let's place a hand symbol for this one. Now I'm going to have a variety of different hands. In this case, I just need a hand that's on my hips. And so I'm going to freeform draw this one using my pen or my brush tool. There's my brush. Got my fill color already set. In this case, the hand will be set off here. And will be placed right there. Now, the issue with the hand is, of course, the hand symbol or the hand graphic that I've drawn is behind the pants that I have. And those pants need to be in front of the shirt that I have. So the stacking order for the hand needs to be simply on a different layer. Tell you what, I'll erase this away. And for this one, we'll put the hand on a new layer. It's on top of the pants, just to make it simpler for me to be able to draw everything. If I'm looking at it, naturally the hand would come out, the four fingers would wrap around, you'd have a little thumb off to the side. So we'll grab my brush tool again one more time. In this case, the thumb would stop right about here, and the rest of the hand would wrap around and be placed on this overall design here. One finger, another finger, and another one. And then connect out the wrist. Use my eraser tool, clean up this edge. That looks good. Looks like I have a ton of fingers here, so maybe we'll clean up some of these fingers along this edge. Back out, let's see what the whole thing looks like. That's looking really good too. Finally, I'll select this, just the hand by itself, and let's create and save the hand as a symbol, as a graphic. Now that we're done with the body, let's go back to scene number 1. We've got it kind of in its starting position. We'll move this over and place him right about there. We'll place the head, turn on or unlock the head layer. Place him as the starting position. That's looking really good. And of course I'm going to animate the other arm. So let's give it another layer. This will be the arm animated layer, just to distinguish it from the other ones. And since this one's going to be animated, we can go to our library and let's find all the different parts. So here's my upper arm, can be placed here. Here's my arm, lower arm, there it is right there, placed within this. And then of course I need my hand to be placed within that design. Since all three of these are together, we need to swap them around so that they fit well on this side. So I'm going to select this one and let's rotate it, or excuse me, transform, flip it horizontal. We'll do the same for this one, just to get it to go good. And then finally let's flip the hand, flip horizontal, and get it to match up with this. We'll take these, place them on top of here, get it to line up, and we've got the same issue with the other hand. I don't necessarily want to see all of the lines overlapping, so let's go to here and we'll place my hand below the body so I can see it. Now that's nice behind it, excuse me, not just the hand, but also the arm too. This can be resting right about here. And the final thing we need to do is to link up all of these into one particular armature. Oh, hang on, before I do that, I need to get rid of this line that's going down this part of my shirt. Remember, in order to do that, I'm going to double click on my body. We'll go into this, and I'm going to click on the outline of my body. Well, come on. Ah, I've got it locked down, no wonder. So unlock everything. Now that it's unlocked, can select the graphic. Let's get rid of this particular outline. Just like we did before, grab your eraser, erase almost all the way down. We'll stop it right about there. Now with that done, it should register in and work really, really nicely. May have to go in and tweak a couple of things, but I think that'll work well for what we've got. Go back to scene one. Now it's looking good. Of course, that hand looks a little wonky. We can always move things around and adjust it as necessary. Let's go ahead and adjust it to where it needs to be here. I'm going to send that to the back. That looks good. And of course, we'll place the hand where it needs to be too. For that. In order to link up this movable arm, this is very important, we need to go to our bone tool. And with the bone tool, you can click the starting point position for here. So here's where it will rotate on the shoulder. Drag down to the next joint, which will be for this graphic, and you can see that symbol is connected. And then click and drag to the wrist for the next graphic. Now when it does this, you can see this happening on the wrist. Remember, it'll adjust the stacking order for it. So I need to be able to select just this option, hold down Shift and Command, and press the down arrow, and that will send it to the back the way it should be. You can also see when it does this, it creates its own little armature up here at the very top, and the animated arm kind of becomes null on that side. Do the same thing for this, but now I can move this around. We want this to be towards the back and beneath everything that's below it. So now when I move my arm, you can see the arm can move around, go up and down. Later on, when I go through cleanup, we can go in and clean up those little lines and make that look a little bit better once it's done. All right, feeling pretty good about this. So now that I've got the body built out, got the head and everything else to work on, I can go in and delete away my outline. So I select my outline layer, trash that. And now I can focus on doing the animation portion for the rest of my design.